Hi, I'm Chuck Sheridan. I'm the founder of Bondslave Motorcycle Club. Some of you have known me, some of you have never met me. Maybe you've just heard rumors about who I am and where I am. Can I introduce you to my garage? This is my sanctuary. This is what I got here. We gotta do it. How do we do this? There we go. Here. Ah, that's a 1966 Volkswagen Buggy. That's what that is, with a 1974 motor and blowing the cylinder. And then over here, put away for the summer because it's over 100 degrees, is the Frankenstein. And my faithful old Harley Davidson is under the blue tarp. And this here is the Gizmo bike. Why do I call it the Gizmo bike? It's a 1977 Honda CB 750F model. Well, a long time ago, I met this guy named Glenn Shaleski. We quickly nicknamed him Gizmo because of all the gadgets and gadgets that he had and the stuff that he built. And this motorcycle was leaning up against his garage wall and it had a tree growing through the front rim. And some of the parts were from a K model. And I suspect he had crashed it and just put it against the garage. And he asked me if I wanted it. Of course, I said yes, because I like motorcycles. But what you need to know about Gizmo was he was really a good evangelist. He was always quick to tell someone about Jesus and invite people to church. And he had such an unassuming manner about him, but he made absolutely no efforts at all to make sure that everybody knew he was a biker. He didn't care about his image. He didn't go running around making sure he was dressed right and had all the right tools on his belt and that he was the perfect biker image. But he was first and foremost a friendly guy who was willing to tell anybody about Jesus and bring him to church. And he did that in the most unassuming way. I was really sad when he died. Really sad. And so I've continued to work on this motorcycle that's now worth a few $1,000s and it doesn't even run, but it's complete. In 1988, I joined a Christian Motorcycle Association. You won't know it. Stop making assumptions. And they were really about going for rides and having coffee and ice cream and cake. None of the other clubs in the city of Winnipeg knew about them. And they weren't very evangelistic. Do you know what that word means? They weren't operating as missionaries or evangelists within their own city and amongst their own people. They were just going for rides together and having ice cream. And I was disheartened by that. And so in May 1989, I started Bondslave Motorcycle Club. It was born out of a testimony that I am a slave to Jesus and he is my master. And it comes right out of the Old Testament book, Deuteronomy, where a man would have his ear pierced through with a wood awl at the doorpost, and he was giving himself to his master for life. He was no longer his own man. His master was the owner of him. He was bonded as a slave to the master, never to be set free again. And that's the way I think I am to Jesus. What about you? Is Bondslave Motorcycle Club serving your purposes, or are you serving Jesus through the vehicle of Bondslave Motorcycle Club? And the Motorcycle Club is first and foremost all about telling bikers about Jesus Christ and sharing with them where your hope is and where your salvation lies. And if that's not what you're doing, then what are you doing? Are you a middle-aged man just looking for an identity, trying to figure out who you are at that state of life? Well, first you should know who you are with Jesus Christ and know him. And if you have to get dressed up in front of the mirror every day and make sure you look like a biker, I pity you. Because now you've put your identity in something that is fading and passing. And you're going to go walking around making sure everybody knows you're a biker, not making sure everybody knows that you know Jesus. So Bond Slave Motorcycle Club, first and foremost, was evangelistic in its purposes to share and tell people about who Jesus Christ is. Not to make you look good. Not to help you make everybody understand that you're a biker. And I'm afraid some guys, not just in Bond Slave, but in other motorcycle associations too, they put all their identity behind their patch. I used to go to Tim Hortons up there on Main Street on the Harley, and it's an Evolution motor. It's got now it's got the S&S motor in it and a Super G carburetor. You can dial that thing down and it would rev so low. And some guy came along and started talking to me one time, and he says, "How do I make my motorcycle sound like yours?" And I asked him what yours his was, and it was a fuel-injected twin cam. And I says, "You can't make yours sound like mine." And you look at some of these guys, and their leathers are clean. They've not got any bug splatter on them at all. And you look at the mileage on their motorcycles, and they don't go anywhere. They don't ride their motorcycles anywhere. They're perimeter bikes. They never leave the perimeter of the city of Winnipeg. What's with that? Isn't it supposed to be a motorcycle club that goes for rides together, that goes out into the farthest corners of the country so that they can meet and tell people about Jesus Christ? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? Well, this guy, he was just all about having his Harley Davidson and his fingerless gloves and his nice leathers on and sitting around with a bunch of guys at Tim Hortons talking about motorcycles. But he had no mileage on it. He didn't go anywhere. What about you? First and foremost, you should be an enthusiast about Jesus Christ, and second, about motorcycles. First and foremost, you should be out there riding your motorcycle for the purpose of finding someone that you can tell them about Jesus. And if you're not bringing people to the club, if you're not bringing people to church, but everybody's sure that you're a biker, oh boy, you've got an identity problem. So, my challenge to you is, make sure your identity is wrapped up in who Jesus is. And secondly, get out there and ride your motorcycle and go to places that you can tell someone about Jesus Christ and about Him as your Savior and Lord, because that's the most important thing. I hope to get to Winnipeg soon and visit with you. And why did we start House of the Risen Sun in Winnipeg? We started it so that those who had no place to worship Jesus, who felt like they were just on the outside and not welcome in any other church, could at least find a place where they were welcome. We started House of the Risen Sun for those who were, big word, disenfranchised, those who had nowhere to go. Are you bringing people to church? Are you telling people about Jesus? Or are you just getting dressed up in the mirror and making sure you got all your rings on and got all your utilities around your belt like Batman? Come on, guys. Love Jesus and serve Him only.